On this episode, we break down Matthew Liberatore's pitching mechanics
and block training.
Stephen Godana here at the @TopVelocity, hashtag Pitch Tip Show, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, @TopVelocity, hashtag Pitch Tips, baseball tips, hitting tips. Ask your question on the show. A lot of things going on. We pretty excited. We've got a Korean baseball team coming in here. We're pretty excited about that's going to learn this approach. Fired up about that. We also have a Major League Baseball team coming in here to learn our approach. Really cool getting to share this with other organizations, big organizations. Camps are going well. We've got a lot of people starting to register for the December camps, January camps. The one in Anaheim starting to get full. So we're pretty excited about that. If you haven't signed up for your camp, go to TopVelocity.net, sign up for your camp. On top of that, we're really excited about ABCA coming out. I know we've been talking about this, but we want to let you guys know because we want as many of you coming as you can. We've got David Arsman's going to be there. Chris Medlin's going to be there. We've got Jim Parquet's going to be there with the King of the Hill, with Velo Pro. We're going to have Rich with the King of the Hill. We're going to have me. We're going to have Active Life. Dr. Sean is going to be there. So we're really excited. ABC is going to be awesome.
This year?
No, I don't think we'll have Matt. Dr. Sean's going to take his place.
Matt's the man.
Yeah, no. But so it's going to be great. We're really excited about that. That's January 4th, 5th, and 6th out in Indianapolis. Come out there, guys. It's a great convention to learn, man. There's tons of coaches speaking. We're just in the trade show doing stuff. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, that's going on. And really excited about this episode. This is a great episode today with Zinger. Zinger and one of his guys, and we're really excited about it. So
Matthew Liberatore.
So here we go. Let's get started. Michael Fleming asks, please break down Baseball America's number 4 overall top high school prospect for 2018 MLB Draft, Matthew Liberatore. All right, awesome. Great question. We're lucky enough to have Matthew Liberatore here and none other than the famous Zinger from AZ Fuel Baseball here. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
What up?
So pretty cool. We got lucky to have you here. So for everyone out there to learn about you, Matthew, why don't we have Zinger, if he can do it, give us the grand introduction of Matthew and the success he's having right now.
Okay. Matthew currently is ranked number 4 with Baseball America, number 3 with Perfect Game, and number 1 with PBR. Left-handed pitcher, 6'5", around 195 pounds. He's trained with us here since he was 11 years old, and he's a great kid right here.
It's a good egg.
That's awesome, man. Having a lot of success. Really wanted to get to know more about what you've been doing before we break down your footage. So, Zinger, talk about. You've had him for a while. You said how young was Matthew when he came to you?
He was 11.
Geez, so you've had him since he was 11. So talk about the developmental process for those out there that want to learn.
I mean, the first thing we really started off with was developing a base of athleticism. Starting off at that age with a lot of stuff like jump ropes and dowels and some light resistance. And then just through the years, we've just progressed with the physical training and then also with the mental training and mental conditioning type stuff, visualization, stuff that takes years to develop, but he's done it for years now. So he's accessing that now in the games. He was also this summer able to pitch at the Under Armour All-American game, which he was the MVP for. He was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to throw 3 innings in that game. Then he started the Perfect Game All-American game at Petco, which was awesome. I got to go watch that. and we got to see him hit 95 for the first time.
Nice.
And then finished off the summer with a gold medal with Team USA.
Just the cherry on top, huh?
That championship game. So
That's awesome. So, like, what are the things in the past, like, as far as velocity-wise, Matt, if you want to jump in, velocity-wise, like, when did it really kind of, the age, did it pick up for you and go into those elite ranges?
So summer after freshman year was one of the first times I threw to a radar gun, and I was sitting like 79 to 82. I think I touched 83 maybe once, and then I really got with Zinger and started getting stronger and more athletic. And so sophomore school year, I went out and it happened to be against Nolan Gorman, who I'm best friends with, touched 91, and then that was kind of where I sat the rest of the summer, 87, 89, touching 90, 91. And then after that summer, got back with Zinger again for the off season, lifted really heavy, got really strong, really athletic, and came out this summer. And school season sat 80, 90, 91 during the school season. And then during the summer, I was 90, 93, 94.
And that was last year or this year?
That was
this past summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
you had
Cool.
817.
Okay, awesome. So, did you really? Of course, you have a lot of genetic abilities, but what do you feel in the training with Zinger really added to your own genetic potential, or what helped you kind of spur that development?
I think a lot of the explosive stuff that we do, I think Olympic lifting has really taken my game to the next level. And then also I think one thing that people don't focus on enough is the mobility, flexibility, stability part of it. Guys want to have six-pack abs and, have a really nice beach body instead of just being as strong and athletic and ready to pitch as possible. So being able to move and being able to get into some of the positions that were a little tougher to get into before I was that flexible, I've really elevated my game and my velocity. Anything
you want to add to that, Zinger?
I think it's a progression. It's a little bit of all of that stuff that mixes together. And as you know, it's a unique blend for each guy.
Yeah.
But I think especially, we progressed into a lot of the stuff, our first workout, and the first thing that really told me a lot about Matthew, he came and did my jump rope workout, which we always start every guy with, and he was not perfect, we'll just put it that way. However, the next week he came back and he just crushed it, like maybe without even missing a jump, just tore it up. And I'm looking at his dad and I go, what's going on here? And he goes, well, on the way home he made me stop at Sports Chalet and get him a jump rope. And then for 2 hours he jumped rope in the backyard before he came in and ate dinner. And I was, okay, that's my kind of guy. Because it's like, some guys when they're less than perfect at something, they'll beat themselves up. Versus other guys that are like, they look at it as an opportunity to get better, which is what this guy right here does. He's able to move on to that next one and, get better.
Yeah, dude, that's a huge piece, man. You obviously got to have the whole package. Sounds like you do, but that is a huge piece. Someone who's willing to commit, willing to go the extra mile to do what it takes to be successful. To not just be successful, but to stand out, to be the best guy, right? So I'm sure Matthew probably at AZ Fuel Baseball training facility there, he's probably the one trying to beat everybody, or if he hasn't already, he's trying to hold that position, right?
Definitely.
Well, cool. So, like, biomechanically, guys, like, what are some key things biomechanically you feel like helped you in your performance enhancement?
I think, we study a lot of Aroldis Chapman video, and watching him being able to sit down into it almost at a 90-degree angle, and then being able to drive and triple extend out of that was huge. I had a problem about 2-3 years ago, like my freshman year, where when I would land, I would almost rebound and my back leg wouldn't come up and over. And so getting strong enough to get past that and, being able to brace up that front leg, that really helped me quite a bit. And then I'd say the last piece would be the glove side. I used to not be as tight with it and it would fly out, but being able to keep that in close to my chest has really helped my command and of all three pitches.
All right, so we're going to break you down. You're lucky I put you on the show here. You can talk about what you feel like because, as a biomechanics analyst, I'm looking for things that I can help you on, things that you don't do well. I'm going to point out the things you do well, but I'm going to look for a lot of things that you could work on. What do you feel like the things that I might be calling out? Because I know you've seen one of my videos already. What are the things you think I'm going to be calling out, or some of the things that you need to get better at?
I mean, just from talking with John, I know that my internal hip mobility could be a little bit better, so I could turn that back foot over just a little bit more, create some more hip to shoulder separation, and then I think just getting stronger, continuing to get more mobile and strong, being able to transfer those forces a little bit better.
You just nailed it. So, kudos to you, because I've broken down major leaguers on here, and some of them are perfectly fine with it. They appreciate it, but then some others take insult by it. So, how do you feel about being critiqued on a syndicated show like this?
No, I like it. I want to hear it. I want to know what I need to work on to make myself better. And I think that if people just go around saying, "Oh, you do this well and you do that well," well, I know I've been doing that forever, but what do I actually need to work on?
Yeah, kudos to you. Once again, it's like, look at the success you've had. Being ranked the way you're ranked, playing, with Team USA, winning the awards that you've won. I don't even have that experience. So I'm in awe of what you're doing already at your age, and I'm just honored actually to get to break down your video, which is pretty cool, and help you in your process, just like Zinger, right?
Thank you.
Well, cool. So let's break this down. If Zinger gets kicked out of the shot here, we can see half of Zinger, sorry. So we're taking you into your leg lift. You want to talk about where, I'll bring it over. Yeah, Zinger, kind of getting the roller coaster shot back there. There you go. Where are we exactly here, Matthew? Where is this that you're playing in this footage?
This is TOS over the summer in North Carolina, pitching at their main field. It was the top 80 players in the nation. Brought them there for a week. We stayed with host families and then had basically a mini tournament. Split the 80 guys up into 4 20-man teams and competed for the whole week. And whoever won got a gold medal, and then they picked the top 40 to go on to trials after that, and then obviously 20 after that for the team.
Hey, David Ardsman's calling him. You got to tell him we got more important things to do, right? All right, well, cool. So you said you're about, 93, 95 in this?
90, 93.
Okay, cool. All right, so coming out of your leg lift, peaking in your leg lift, I like to see the hips inside the drive leg. You can see you're well inside your drive leg. Zinger, is this something y'all work on? Do you like guys starting early?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's good to see he's in a good position to start building momentum. Your lift leg is also trying to close off. Your shoulders are closing off. Okay, coming out of your lift leg, you're breaking your hands. You're continuing to move forward and down at the same rate. I would say, if anything, I'm looking for a perfect kind of slide down the mound, forward and down at the same rate. I think if anything, you might be coming down a little too hard, just a little bit too hard, because when you load your leg, which you load it really well, your force vector, what I call the ankle to knee, is still very vertical on you. So if you were going more forward and not so much down, like I said, it's like a perfect forward and down the same rate, a 45-degree angle, then the moment you kind of peaked your load and got into your maximum hip flexion, your force vector is actually a little bit more linear. But that also could correlate to your internal rotation mobility. So if you don't have enough internal rotation mobility to do that, or even hip abduction, then that could be why you're going down. You're just, that this is the lowest you can go is more down than if you kept going forward. You'd hit the end of that capsule, and then it would mess your delivery up. So what do you feel? What rings a bell? Do you think it's just you need a cue to stay going more forward, or do you feel like it maybe is correlated to your hip mobility?
I don't necessarily feel it when I pitch because it feels natural, but I think obviously I have a lot of mental cues, but I think, just working on that hip mobility will really me subconsciously to access that.
Yeah, I usually find if you go at it in a two-way street, you have more success. You try getting more forward in your movements and you work on your hip mobility, and typically you get some more success. But very good load.
Goes to working on the biomechanics of this.
Say that again. We missed the beginning, Zinger.
We just started to do a lot more of the med ball stuff. We've done a lot of it anyways, but especially right now he's shut down for from throwing for a couple months. Once he finished with Team USA, we shut him down until around December. So we've just been throwing the 2-pound med balls.
How is he surviving with those? It's pretty tough, isn't it?
I love them.
Good.
I feel it's one of the best ways to work on your mechanics, and it doesn't put any stress on your arm.
That's huge, man. And the separation throws, I mean, it's all pretty hard. How long you been doing it?
I'd say we've probably been doing it, for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been in off and on. So you've gotten better at it. Good. Okay.
Whatever year that was.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, good. I'm glad you. Yeah, I mean that's what we do. Like for example, David Ardsma. You know, when he would come in from season and start his off season, he didn't want to throw till mid-December, so we would do med throws till mid-December. I mean, we'd keep doing them after that, but that's all we would do. And he would feel sharp when he picked up that baseball. He'd feel sharp. He just needed to put the conditioning on his arm, and he was ready to go.
That was one of the main things for me that helped me get that front leg to brace consistently right as I let go of the ball, because I could actually feel it, and I didn't have to go 1,000 miles an hour and throw a baseball to do it.
Cool. All right, well, I really like the load, except for you maybe being more linear, which is tough. I mean, I'm trying to put you in a perfect place, which you really have to have almost a perfect body to get into a perfect place, and you're pretty close. You're still closed on your front side. You're right where you need to be. Now here you go. As you move forward, you're moving into extension, but because that force vector was a little vertical, your hips are starting to stay linear. They're not continuing to go down. Go ahead. What?
A little bit instead of drive.
Yeah, so that's the thing is, if we could have gotten you more forward and down, then your force vector would have been more linear. So when you peaked, you would have been able to keep your hips moving down the mound, which is what we want, and been able to still peak out of the back leg. So now because you were too vertical, your peak is causing you to go, you're not really going back up, you're just keeping your hips on a linear plane.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's going to help to internal rotation, because if I can't keep my hips going down when I drive, then your leg just wants to extend. It doesn't want to internally rotate, because when your hips are going down and you drive, you have to drive your knee down with it. You have to internally rotate. You have to adduct your leg to push through that movement, and that's what would really support you getting more internal rotation. So I think I know it is a hip mobility with you issue. You got to just try to get loaded better, more linear on your force vector, and keep the hips driving down into your drives, and then all of a sudden your leg's going to start internally rotating once you get the mobility to do it.
That makes perfect sense.
So you hit front foot and you stayed really closed on your front leg, which was great. The only thing is you would fall into I would say a David Ardsma, Uradano Ventura category of almost knee slamming, because you're not getting a lot of internal rotation, which is typically the link to this knee slamming. What you see is the knee driving down into adduction, which is the only thing trying to push that hip into rotation now, but it's causing you to lay on the inside of your foot and drag along the inside of your foot as opposed on the top of your foot. Make sense?
Yeah, that's one of the things I've experienced. All my cleats and everything have a hole like right where the ball of my foot is instead of on the toe of it.
Right. So the thing is you don't want to become a rotator and just try to spin your leg. It's really talking about how you get your hips out of your leg lifts to get more forward and down, and getting a drive through that movement, which should allow you to get rotation. What you're doing now to adduct the knee and drag the side of the foot is the best you can do with that linear drive, or that vertical drive that's going off. So I don't want to take that away from you, because that's your ball speed right now. I just want to make it more rotational with the whole hips forward and down thing. That's the key. So don't change that. Just try to get the hips to continue down and peak and rotate later. That's all you can do. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's working for you. The only thing is you could fall into, which I don't see it, because when you hit front foot, your hips open, which David Ardsma, who wound up having several hip-related injuries because of that knee slamming, he couldn't even rotate his hips. So I'm seeing your hips rotate more like Uradano Ventura after that movement, which is good, because that relieves the stress off those adductors being yanked up through that movement. So I'm not as concerned that you're going to have groin-related issues. You could fall into maybe I don't even think so too. Like the other thing is what David had, and even other guys that don't get a lot of hip rotations, they start having left hip, or for you, right hip labrum issues. Because when you start hitting with your hips a little closed really hard, and there's no rotation to relieve the stress and put torsion into the capsule, it just causes a poundage into the capsule. You can fall into labrum tearing issues. But I think you're fine because you still have good hip movement when you land, and your hips are actually getting open, and you have great hip to shoulder separation. The other key point too is because I believe it's once again a mobility issue. Your hips open, and you can see your shoulders are slightly being forced open just a bit too early. And on top of that, your arm is going from just touching front foot strike to what's called a horizontal abduction, pulled behind your back, to when you settle and your hips open, because that hip is and that lack of mobility is causing slight trunk rotation. Your elbow's shooting into horizontal abduction very early, which means it's pushing forward and not staying back long enough. So when that happens and you go into full shoulder rotation, like right as your shoulders open up, your elbow's now wanting to push forward, which is going to cause you to want to release the ball early. And there's a big correlation to forward trunk tilts to ball velocity, and it's cutting your forward trunk tilt off. So if through mobility, if we can keep that arm more behind the back into shoulder rotation and coming up late, not too late where it's drag, but a little bit later than you're doing, then you're going to be able to push your trunk out a lot farther, which it has a huge correlation of velocity. That'll be another big jump in velo for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Anything you want to add in there, Zinger?
I mean, that's great. I mean, it's been a progression through the years. When you get a chance to continue to mold a guy from a younger age, it's a progression. So it's fun to watch and see. Obviously get your feedback and expertise and.
Yeah, I mean, you're never, this game, we're trying to always be perfect, and it's you never will be. What you'll have years where you got really close, and then you'll have years where you were farther away, and those were your worst years. So in this game, we're always trying to get as close to perfect as we can, and then we struggle. For example, Matthew, 4 years from now, when you've been throwing a ton in pro ball, you're going to have some wear and tear on your hip that might be causing more mobility issues that you're going to have to work with. So the point is, because we're always working for that perfection, stimulus is always coming at us. We're going to have years where our hips feel great. We're going to have years where our hips don't feel great. So it's just a matter of if you know what's going on, if you know biomechanically how you need to move, and the struggles that your body deals with, the hip restrictions, maybe the timing issues, then you can always have control of your career. And I think that's the best thing I can give you is the better you understand this, Matthew, with Zinger and me, is the more control you have over your career, because when it starts breaking down, you'll be able to jump in and fix it when there's even big leaguers out there breaking down and they have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But just to finish it up, as far as into pitch release, not much left. You have a great front leg. I think your front leg is incredibly dynamic. It shows the kind of athlete you are. That leg is having to stop your momentum and then extend before pitch release, and that's around 0.1, 0.2 seconds. So a guy who's able to stop, which studies have showed up to 250% of his body weight, and then extend back into it in 0.1, 0.2 seconds, really shows that you're definitely close to an above average to an elite athlete just in your leg power. The challenge is as you gain weight, which I'm sure you will as you keep aging, which would actually be a good thing, that you can still keep those legs as dynamic as they are, because that would just push your velo up with your weight.
Of course.
Well, I think that's it for me. I mean, Steven, did you see anything?
Yeah, I was just noticing you do a lot of stuff at a really high level, and I think you're doing the best you can with what you got with the hip mobility issue. So I would just say, try to get to work on that hip mobility issue as much as you can. Pay a lot of attention to it, and then I know you're 6'5", 195. I know Zinger's really into nutrition. So are you guys doing anything nutrition-wise? Are you trying to gain weight or anything like that?
Yeah, we've been trying to eat a lot of good carbs and protein and all that kind of stuff. Try and put on some lean muscle mass. Obviously, I don't want to get bulky.
Mm-hmm.
If I could put on 10, 15 pounds of lean muscle mass before this high school season, I think I'd be in a good position to go out there and do what I do this high school season.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's one of the things at 6'5", 195. I definitely think you can add a lot more lean muscle mass to your frame and still keep getting more athletic. And then the last thing was, I mean, if you're just comfortable with saying, it's not every day that you get to talk with a really high level prospect like yourself. But I mean, do you know any of your vertical jump, broad jump, 10-yard dash? I think people would like to hear some of those measurements as well.
Vertical jump, I'm around just over 30 inches,
Mm-hmm.
probably like 33. And then broad jump, what was it, like 10 feet?
Wow.
Something.
That's impressive.
All right.
That's insane.
There it is.
Honestly, it was like 116 inches or something like that.
Wow. That's great,
Yeah.
man. That would be one of the top in my facility.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the other one that you were asking about?
Just any sprint times, like if 10 yards, 60 yards, whatever it be.
I haven't run it
So
many
it's been a minute
sprints.
since we did
My
that.
my best 60 yard that I ever ran was freshman year, and I haven't run one since.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah. So it'll be off then, definitely, if it was freshman year was the last one.
yeah.
What are you clean? What are you power cleaning right now?
Yeah, that's
Are
a
you,
good
I know y'all stay light. I mean, do you go heavy at all or no?
Yeah, I do. I actually just hit 205 for 3 reps last week on
There you
power
go.
clean.
Well, that's great, man. I think you can make a lot of extra power gains there too.
Yeah, by high school season, my goal is to get up to 225 on power clean and hit 500 on deadlift.
That's
Yeah, that
awesome,
would be
man.
awesome. And that posterior chain development is going to help with your hip mobility as well. The stronger that glute is, the more stable that joint's going to be able to rotate. But I would get in there. I mean, what are some exercises to do with hip internal rotation? That's a tough one.
Hip internal rotation, yeah, it's a really tough one to try to get to open up. And I've talked to a lot of people, especially like pretty high level professionals at it on trying to get that range to open up. And I mean, from what I'm gathering from it, a lot of it is stretching band work, strengthening. A lot of times guys, when you have them try to hold or try to push against internal rotation, they just have really weak internal rotators. So banded exercises where you're pushing into internal rotation, trying to strengthen those might be really weak. So I mean, those are some of the biggest ones, I think, but that's a big problem where guys are getting a lot of, you see hip impingements with it or just really poor range of motion there, and just banded distraction and strengthening it as much as you can. At this point, that's what I know to do for it. I don't know.
I even think like farmer carries would be good. I mean, Zinger, what do y'all do for hip abduction, internal rotation, and what do you have them do?
We got some manual stuff, and then some of the, basically lay them on their back, and like you're talking about, Steven, with a band, but
Mhm.
do it, give some resistance, have you push against,
Absolutely.
have you hold both ways. We've just been experimenting as much as we can with getting into, even seated positions and just rotating the hips. We do some stuff with wooden dowels from one of my buddies who was a PT out in San Diego, but with some different positions and coiling in, T-spine work and trying to just get it all. Because I think it's all connected, and as much as we can, getting this, has to help getting this. Or,
Mhm.
so just getting as much balance in that coil.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen, I put it on my Instagram. I like my linear to lateral lunges. So you lunge forward and then you lunge to the side. But when you lunge to the side, don't pull yourself up with your landing leg. Pull yourself up with your plant leg, and that way you're going to engage those adductors and some of that internal rotation power.
So we even did some planks. We started doing these. I saw, we've done different variations, but doing a side plank with just your top leg up. So you have to sit there and hold.
Yeah.
It tends to be weak with a lot of guys.
Yep.
To be able to, for a minute, is pretty impressive. Most of the guys are 30 to 45 seconds to start off. But I mean, that's a challenge. That's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt, you're in a position to where you really don't have a lot of physical development yet, which is insane. I mean, you're throwing 95 with not a lot of physical development, meaning like your body's going to make so many more gains. You just need to make sure that when those gains come in strength and in mass, you don't allow like mobility to atrophy, or you don't allow like motor control or your mechanics to atrophy. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. When they feel the gains of mass and strength, they start getting lazy on other aspects. When they didn't have all that, they were working harder in those other aspects, and that, you know, that added strength and weight kind of makes them lazy.
That's kind of what I was saying about, you know, John doing a really good job of making sure I'm not just, you know, ripped or as strong as humanly possible, but that I'm an athlete at the same time, and I'm ready to pitch, not just, you know, six-pack abs and big arms.
Yeah, I think you got it, man. Well, good. I think you got a great coach there, Zinger, with you. I think you got incredible guidance. I know he can help you in more ways than one, just to be a supporter, because you're probably about to go through a lot of stress because you're about to be put on the main stage over and over and over again. So you need all the support you can have, and you got a good team around you. So I'm happy for you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, good, guys. I really appreciate this. I think a lot of people are going to like this. I'm excited. Any last words? Anything y'all want to say just before we sign off here?
Just thank you guys for having me. I appreciate all the feedback and everything. I'll definitely put it to use.
Well, we love it, man, and we wish you the best.
Yeah.
What about you?
Luck.
Any last words, Zinger?
I think the big testament that guys can take from what Matthew did too is committing to the process. You know, there's no magic. You know, you have articles, and I've read other articles, but there's no magic bullet. There's no one thing that made him who he is. There's a lot of things, all the way from what he ate to what he was thinking about to his visualization, which is a whole other piece. But the whole, you know, what's the phrase? But the sum is stronger, right? Or than the parts individually, right? You add everything up together, and that's when you can get a more, ideally, you know, durable and then, you know, high-performing athlete that, you know, can enjoy baseball.
Mike Reinold used the cake analogy. Don't bake your cake until you have all the ingredients, right?
I love that. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, you got it, and that's what you've done. You've put all the ingredients on the table, and then you brought it together. No, you're right. Most people in this game don't understand that. They're looking for that one ingredient to try to bake their cake with, and they always fail.
Yeah, and it's a long-term athletic development process, you know, and I think it's something that you do a little bit every day above and beyond what others are doing, and that's how you separate yourself from the pack. Yeah,
I mean, Matthew, I know you said your last words, but give a last word to the grind. Tell people what it's like to do this from when you're 11 to now to have the success you have. Tell them what the grind's like.
I mean, I think if the dream is real for you, it's easy to go out there and do it every day. Make sure that, you know, whether it's raining outside or, you know, you can't get outdoors, that you do something every day to make yourself better and push yourself closer to where you want to be. Whether that's doing 100 push-ups or going and playing catch, or, you know, going to the gym and getting a good workout in, or even, you know, laying down for 10 minutes and visualizing yourself having success in the position you want to be in. Doing something every day to separate yourself from the person next to you.
That's it, man. That's the formula. All right, guys. Well, appreciate that. This has been awesome. We're going to be watching every minute of the draft this year, and hope all the best. You know, we wish you all the best success, and we'll be watching. So,
thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we're going to sign off. Doc asks, do you believe in mixing explosiveness and strength into one workout, or dividing them into sections, example 4 weeks on strength and 4 weeks on explosiveness? Asking specifically for the off season. Love the show. All right, Doc, good question. This kind of falls into the lines of triphasic training, which is an approach that blocks the training like that, which, you know, you'll be working on for a period of time. One phase, you know, of strength, then you'll go to power, speed. You know, we talk about it a lot. I think we've covered it more on live feeds, not on the show as much. I think in the past we did like a way back. But I'll give my opinion. Stephen will give his opinion. I like our approach, more an Olympic approach. It's more a conglomerate of everything. We're training every component of athleticism: mobility, strength, speed, power, motor control. I like that approach a lot better. Of course, if I want to go for more power or more strength with a guy, I will take that and bring up more strength and atrophy more power, but I'm still training it. Mm-hmm. I don't like it where I completely pull it out, because then the atrophy really atrophies. So if I'm just on strength for 4 weeks, then I go back to power and my power stinks. You know, I remember it was Bob Wheatley did it, and he wanted to try it out, and he was doing strength, and he's like, man, my strength's going through the roof. And then he comes down and jumps in with everyone here that's been doing it all together, and he was dominating strength and so far behind in power, and it really frustrated him how far he was behind in power. He almost didn't enjoy the strength games as much because he was so far behind in power. So that's the big issue. I don't like that. You know, to me, we just have to build strength to build more power. To me, it's just they're trying to push our power up. So I don't like sitting there just working on it, because I believe that it doesn't give you it's not going to be more effective in the result, because the challenge is power through an efficient kinetic chain. That's the hard part. I never want to turn that off. I want to be working on that all the time, and then I'll build the strength in when I need it, which is consistently, or if I need more of it, I might bring it up a little more. But yeah, I think more the issue, it's not blocking it. It's like I don't like taking the power away from an athlete. Training power, training efficiency through an Olympic power movement, I don't like taking that away for a long period of time, because then they really lose it.
Specifically because the Olympic lifts are so technical as well. You don't want to atrophy your technique in that.
It is. It's like not throwing for 4 weeks and then coming back and trying to feel good at throwing. We cannot throw a baseball. Well, we're still throwing our two-handed med throws that still take us through the movements, and we don't lose it. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I just don't want to atrophy something that is such a hard skill to develop. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add?
I like to think of it as like the 2/3, 1/3 kind of rule. Like there can be times, like Brent's talked about, where it's like maybe he'll push more strength, where it goes into a more 2/3 focus, but you still always have that 1/3 power there. Or then you might want to go into more speed explosive work, where it'll be more 2/3 speed explosive work, maybe 1/3 of the power. But that's really just to keep your skill in either one of those from atrophying. So the last thing too is just when it comes to the level of the athlete, like I think a really advanced athlete that's struggling to keep making gains because he's just pretty maxed at a lot of the areas that he's been working on, that can be an area where you can try to, I would say, block it more, but you still want to stick to that 2/3, 1/3 rule. But for beginner athletes, most of the guys that we're doing, like the Ace Pitcher Handbook, that beginner level is still for them. I feel like that's it's great for them, but I feel like that one is even, some people would want to do a 3-day a week and we do a 5-day a week. But you just have to know the level of the athlete. A beginner athlete can't take the amount of stress that an advanced athlete is going to take. The advanced athlete is going to need more stress to keep progressing. The beginner athlete, I think even we've seen Eric Cressy talk about this all the time. In untrained athletes, you can do absolutely anything and it'll make them better, you know? So I think you just have to have an understanding of those things. And then I'm with Brent. I don't like the whole, let's just focus on strength and not pay any attention to explosive work or speed work. And I've seen a lot of guys, and I myself have done triphasic training as well. And a lot of the guys that I know that really bought into it and did it for a long time all ended up becoming injured. So there's a balance to that as well. So that's what I would have to add.
Yeah, and why the injury can occur is because kind of like the Noah Syndergaard thing. It's like you overemphasize strength, which means you have the ability to create force on your body, and then you could possibly, which I think could have been with the case of Noah Syndergaard, you're under-implementing or under-developing mobility, under-developing the efficiency through a kinetic chain and multi-joint movements. So you're getting really strong and be able to push a lot of force in your body, but you're not really good at redistributing it, which would be the efficiency of the kinetic chain, or you're not working on the mobility to have more time to get rid of and redistribute it, and then you fall into injury. And I think that's the Noah Syndergaard example, and I think that's the I'm saying that I'm going to go with triphasic training, but I think that can be the issue with block training, that exact issue. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, just going back to the level of the athlete. Like, for example, I at the time when I was doing it, the more block training approach, what I think a lot of the guys were getting injured is they were putting so much stress on their body to where they couldn't handle it. So it's a very fine balance for a strength coach to know, hey, am I pushing this guy too far? Do I need to pull back, or is he not being pushed far enough to see gains? So that's always something that a good strength and conditioning coach needs to balance with his guys. And you know, talking to Matt Bruce, he always says that he'll watch a guy put his shoes on. He'll watch how he's talking around the gym. Like, is he usually a really talkative guy telling jokes, and he comes in today and he's being really sluggish tying his shoes, or he's not joking around with the guys? And that might be a sign that his CNS is fatigued, or his musculoskeletal system is fatigued, and he needs to kind of pull back before pushing. So I think that's a part of it that a lot of people do not understand, that there's different levels of athletes and everybody's different, and people need to be pushed differently in order to see gains, not only to see gains, but keep themselves from getting hurt as well.
Yeah. And unfortunately, coming through our system, which a lot of people don't have the, you know, they can make the investment or the time to stay down here and train under our toolage. So they take our online programming, and it's more general at that point, and they don't really have someone helping them kind of create, you know, work with the ebb and flows of their own daily, you know, energy and motivation for the programming, or health for the programming. So that's the only challenge we have on remote, but it's not that we have a lot of injuries because of that, and more than likely it's probably because we keep it more comprehensive. We're not blocking it and pushing really extreme to one side and then switching to the other side. We're making you do it all and slowly building over time.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. If you have a question, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, @TopVelocity, #PitchTips, #BaseballTips, ask your question, answer on the show.